called fake news. Fake news. You are fake news. It's all fake news. Fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. It's all fake news.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The World Gone Mad. And today we are diving into some interesting stuff which I've paid some attention to before, but this is something I find very fascinating, the topic of health and healing yourself rather than just, trying to intervene medically and keep you on pills or surgery your whole life, which does have its benefits to a certain extent, and sometimes it might even be needed. But I think we have to look at it completely anew, and so we will pay some attention to those things. And today's show we will be talking about some guy that I discovered years ago, a great book, Mr. Steve Ozanich. Here is his book, The Great Pain Deception, Understanding TMS. You don't just see it because the banner is in the way. Maybe I can remove the banner. And you see it here. The Great Pain Deception, Faulty Medical Advice is Making Us Worse. Understanding TMS, The Mind-Body Syndrome, Stephen Ray Ozanich. I love that book. It's a great book, and it uses many different examples and quotes. And he himself, Steve, is actually some sort of a protege of someone where he got his healing and information from. And that is Dr. Sarno, who has since passed a couple of years ago, I believe now. And he wrote the book Healing Back Pain, The Mind-Body Connection. So that's actually where it starts. So before we get into Steve, we should actually start with Dr. Sarno. Usually he does reference him. He does usually mention him as the guy, hail him as the guy. So I thought it would be good to start with him and take a look at what he's all about here at The World Gone Mad. Now, the videos I have are both 30 minutes long, so I'm not going to be able to play all that. So we might actually have to get into a little bit of, do it in the parts. So we'll just kick it off then with Mr. Steve Ozanich. And Dr. Sarno. And then we get to Steve. And it just so happens, I also have some websites. I will put them in the links. One in Dutch for the Dutch people who are listening or watching, and an English one as well. So let's listen to John Sarno. And this is called, on his book, The Divided Mind. And this is a very interesting topic because our minds are divided. And Mr. Krishnamurti talked about this, not from a medical point of view, but more from a psychological point of view. So this is very interesting. So again, this clip is 26 minutes, so we'll see how far we get. We're not going to play the whole clip, obviously, but we had to just introduce you to this very fascinating stuff. So let me get Mr. Sarno on the screen here and share all this good stuff with you guys. Something to look into, something to mull over, something to, I think absolutely worth to take knowledge of. Eat from the fruit of knowledge. So here we go. Good. Oh, just hang on, I have to put the sound down. All right, here we go. Mr. John Sarno. And not many people have heard of him for many reasons, but I'll introduce you to him right here. Here we go.
I graduated the medical school in 1950. There you go. A long time. When was it that you started to think there is something more going on here with people than just
I
a
can.
bad back?
That's very simple. Um, I was asked to head up the outpatient department at this Rusk Institute of Rehabilitation Medicine in 1965, and was then exposed for the first time in my medical career to large numbers of people with back pain. And it was then, and of course, has become an enormous public health problem now since then. And I used the conventional diagnoses and treatments for a number of years, for must have been about 7 or 8 years, and with great disappointment, great frustration, because people just didn't get better. And
And that is interesting in itself, because this man is a real doctor, in the sense, in my opinion, that a doctor is there to actually help you and try to heal you. But as we find out a lot of times in healing, it's about healing yourself. We are so preconditioned to have someone else take care of us. And there is something good to say for it. But I'm a firm believer that most of it is not really necessary. And that you do have the tools to heal it yourself. And that often you brought about these conditions by yourself, by your own thinking or actions. And that plays a big part in all this. So let's listen what Mr. Sarno has to say here. Um, so after he discovered that the conventional treatments didn't really do much.
I noted, and this was the important thing, that all of the patients practically that I was seeing had histories of other things which I had considered mind body for many years, like common allergies and the common headaches and the common stomach problems and the common colon problems, and so on. And then I said, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if this physical thing turned out to be the same sort of thing? And of course, that was the beginning. And
Well, beautiful. You see how it starts. Just an inquiry, asking questions. And I also am a firm believer that the intelligence within us is not necessarily something you say, oh, he's intelligent or she is, which we are working with. And it's not just our thinking minds. So if we ask that questions, that intelligence will respond. And it's not like it's a separate intelligence or it's like a separate being or entity. It's just intelligence or consciousness, whatever you want to call it. There is something there.
I began to put that into practice. And obviously, one always had to rule out any important structural abnormality and things of that sort. But that wasn't expected. And that was the beginning. And little by little, through the years, I learned more and more about how it works physically and how it works psychologically.
And how does it work physically that your brain does this to your body?
Yeah, well, actually, the brain does it to your body, believe it or not, to protect you. And that is to protect your emotions that it considers to be either threatening and dangerous, like intense anger to the point of rage, or from emotions that are too painful, too unpleasant.
Well, this is very interesting. And Steve talks about this a lot in his book. And this is a concept that is not really used in modern world of like holistic. They don't look at it holistic. They always look at it treating the symptoms. And this flips it upside down. Is that you have to really look closely at it. That there is an emotional pain behind it. And the funny thing is that, like he says, it's there because it protects you. So you So those feelings are so strong that you rather lash out, or that you rather the pain gets to the knee or something, or the ankle, or whatever, whatever part it may appear, that it rather expresses itself in a physical pain, so that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to look at it and deal with it in that sense. So that's what we're talking about here.
Oh,
So it's like focus on this pain, not on
yeah. In
that.
fact, the strategy works. In other words, the brain knows that if it gets you to focus on the pain, then you will not be. First of all, your anger will certainly not come out. In all the years that I've been doing this, 34 years or so, I've had only one patient who had an experience where some of those emotions exploded out, and that was an extremely unusual circumstance. It was a woman who had been actually sexually abused by her father many, many years ago. But otherwise, the symptoms don't tend to come out, so the strategy works. And what do we have to do to get rid of the pain?
Well,
Now, that is a very good question. What do you have to do when you have an emotional pain, actually? That's what we're talking about here. Let me get our guest on the show here. Maybe you just missed a little beginning. We're talking here about Steve Ozanich's book, but I started off with Dr. Sarno because he was the inspiration, and he mentioned it many times. He has since passed, but this is so fascinating because we're talking about emotions that are being pushed away, and rather because we don't want to feel that pain, we don't want to see it, it becomes a physical pain in the knee or these kind of things. So this is what he discovered. And do come in if you have something to say. Let me know. It's fine. You can interject because this is.
Yeah,
I find
yeah,
Thanks for
I'm
joining.
great. It's right up my alley for this week. We've been talking about in the background, and the more I'm experienced my own way, I'm interested where he's going to go on how to do it, because I've got my own things we can maybe bring up later if you like, of my tactics to do this sort of a mind thing over pain, and I'll bring up also one that actually, where it comes to sight, I believe that connects to that I'm working on next, or at the moment, to try and achieve that blockage, which I think you will bring up the terminology as a blockage of sorts when it comes to energies. So I'll see where it goes, mate. And yeah, maybe at the end of it or something, or if I've got to pull up about anything, I'll unmute. Sounds good.
All right, yeah. We're talking here, of course, with our guest, Mr. Southozman. He has his own things in his life and his own techniques. Now, of course, the beauty is there's always more than one technique. You know, there's always more than one thing you can do. That's the beauty. And you can come to conclusions, you can come to results by various methods. But, you know, we have to start somewhere. So I found this very great. And this is an amazing, interesting topic for everybody, because who doesn't want to get rid of pain, and who is not living with pain? I mean, a lot of people may think they are free of it, but there's always this nagging and this annoyance mentally. So we will get into that. So it might actually go a little bit over an hour. We'll see how it goes, but we'll just go with the flow. And now we're going to listen back to Mr. Sarno, Dr. Sarno, and his discoveries, and yeah, how to get rid of it. So we're going to go slowly into it, because that's what I learned over the past years, that if you go with these topics or whatever it is, interviews, you listen, take it slow, because there's so much there in just 1 or 2 minutes. So we'll go now to this next bit where he's going to tell us a little bit more how to get rid of it. So let's see.
First of all, before you get to that,
Yeah.
what is the body? How does it cause the pain?
Well, actually, the brain,
The brain
has
causes pain.
control of all sorts of everything that goes on in the body. And there are different systems that may be involved. For example, the system that's most commonly involved is known as the autonomic system, and that controls involuntary function. It controls the circulation of blood, which is how it produces symptoms here. The brain simply decides, I'm going to reduce the blood flow to these spinal nerves down in the low back area, and that will produce pain. And it's very simple and fortunately very benign.
And that's interesting in itself because I'm a big fan of the Wim Hof method, and he talks about these things. Going past your conditioning to breathing is very key to this. Breathing, bringing oxygen into the body and helping the blood flow through breathing, oxygenation, and taking these cold showers, which is like a workout for the body, vascular workout, so to speak. Now, of course, you have also warm water and saunas and these kind of things, which are also good. But these are just, again, a lot of it, probably apart from the Wim Hof method, it's just treating the symptoms. But that this is so fascinating to get into this. So we'll listen a bit more here to Dr. Sarno, and we'll see if we can get to Steve. I got him ready as well. I got also 2 links to a Dutch website where you can learn more about this stuff, and to an English one as well.
Very harmless, because the degree of oxygen deprivation that results from that is quite minimal, but enough to produce pain. And of course, that's the heart of the matter. Yeah. And so it does the same thing by interfering with normal function in the stomach, for example, and you have reflux. It does the same thing by interfering with normal function in the bowel, and so you have irritable bowel syndrome, and on and on and on.
So you really believe that that TMS is not just about back pain, it also is.
I call these other things equivalents. In other words, yes, they're not part of TMS. By the way, was I specific? I now call it tension myoneural syndrome. And anything that I'm writing now, and of course, what we're doing now, I want it to be known that it's myoneural, which is closer to the exact situation, because the other tissue that may be involved, in addition to nerve and muscle, are tendons. A lot of the pain that people have in the knees and elbows and shoulders turns out to be tendon pain due to TMS. But these other things I call equivalents. In other words, the psychology is the same. It's fascinating. I had a telephone call from a woman today, 81 years young. Told me, and I can't reveal too much, but there was a catastrophe in her life 3 years ago. She began to have symptoms for the first time in her life. First, it was some urinary problem. And then she developed, and she went to the doctors and they cleared that up. And then she developed pain in the shoulder and she went to a chiropractor and he cleared that up. And then she developed sciatica and she went to someone and that was cleared up. And then she developed what she has now, which is pain in the neck. She came across my books and said, I think these were all related. And I said, they certainly are. What do I do? Well, you obviously got to come in and be educated and find out the details, because she had read the books, some of the books, and she was aware of.
So for some people, simply knowing about this works for them.
Yeah.
Just learning that.
That's why so many people have gotten better just from reading one of the books.
Yeah, that is fascinating in itself. Also, Steve talks about this, that the realization of something can already heal you instantly sometimes. Sometimes it takes longer because we are, some people hold on to that pain, or in some cases, which also Steve talked about, the pain is actually something they use because they don't longer want to go to a job or something. So it's kind of interesting. But this is such an interesting topic, and I find this very, very important, and to look further to the brain-body connection that has been damaged so much throughout our lives. It starts young already, and then you don't notice, of course, because you're full of energy and you're just growing up, and most kids seem to be all right, But man, this holistic approach to things is so important to see, and I can also see that even though all the great inventions of surgery, which did give people longer lives, and look at my parents' generation, they did get to an old age relatively in good state, thanks to a lot of these things. So I'm not just saying, don't ever go to a hospital or to a doctor. I mean, if you need to, if you break your leg and these kind of things, they're wonderful, but it needs a tweak. It needs a big tweak. We need to approach it holistically. Of course, we know that the big industries and the powers to be won't have it, but it cannot be otherwise. It cannot go on forever. So this information is very important. We're 6 minutes into this little interview. This is not too long. It's 26 minutes, but let's say we'll listen to a little bit more what he has to say. Then perhaps we can have a little bit of a talk. Otherwise, we switch to Steve to see what he has to say, and we may have to do another episode on this one.
Very funny. Sometimes a patient might, after they've been treated, say, well, I've been buying the books and giving them to my friends. And this one guy read the book, and the lucky guy, his pain went away. All he had to do was read the book.
So for some people, just learning about this works.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that why people are able to get better just from learning about it is that what's going on psychologically is not quite as heavy in those people as it is in others who require more than that.
More than that, as
that is more than what they can get from the books. Who need to come in and see me, have the diagnosis confirmed after an examination, and so on. Attend the lectures, attend my meeting.
So it's interesting there because it really deals with how open you are, really. If you listen to what he's saying, if you are someone and reads that and think, wow, that's actually true, it's like a placebo effect almost. It works. If you're a person who is, if you want to say something, that's fine.
What he just said makes sense as well. Sometimes they need that little bit of extra, like the confirmation, the 3 weeks of therapy to actually get to that point of realization, but they're still getting to that point of, oh, okay, I got it. And that's exactly where I found my pivoting point was believing it. Like he said, once you believe it, well, you can put it into action. It's a bit hard to do anything with like faith, It's virtually works on that level of, okay, I understand. I hope it goes into the energy side of it with blockages, which I think is another vital part to understand this and to work on the therapy of that area. And oxygen is a vital player as well. So I'm glad he brought that up. Yeah, well, I think he's right on from what I've heard so far.
Yeah. And of course, he was in the medical field. He was actually helping people, but it was actually his job. And a lot of doctors around him didn't really like it because, they had less patients because of it. So you can see how weird the world is. And that profession in itself, you would be happy if you have less patients. It means things are going well. But it's such a commercial enterprise, and it's such and also from a job, I can understand you. I mean, it's your job, so you depend a little bit on those people. It's a very odd mix. But the oxygen is so important. That's the whole Wim Hof thing. I also have a video of Wim Hof here, but not sure if we will get to that one. But I think it all ties in. It's so great to learn about these things, and I love when you can help yourself, and I love when other people can help themselves, and a lot of stuff of that is what this is about. All right, let's get back to Mr. Sarno for a bit more. We are, 24 minutes in now. We have Southozman on the show, and we're talking about Dr. Sarno and Steve Ozanich. Their books, Healing Back Pain by Dr. Sarno, was the inspiration for Steve Ozanich to get into his book, The Great Pain Deception. And let's see if we will get to it in this episode, because there's a lot to uncover. All right, so let's go.
beings and so on. So they need more.
And do some people need psychotherapy as
And
well?
about, you anticipated what I was just about to say. In about 20 to 25%, psychotherapy is necessary. And of course, our therapists are all thoroughly trained, and they were all trained originally to work on the unconscious. Of course, that's the heart of the matter here. The title of my last book is The Divided Mind.
Yeah.
The conscious and the unconscious mind.
Bingo. Something where Krishnamurti always talks about that we are not an individual, because an individual is an entity upon itself, is someone who is not divided, and our minds are divided, and that's definitely psychologically a big problem, but also physically it creates havoc. It wreaks havoc on us if you truly go into it.
But how do you know what's going on in your unconscious mind?
Well, you see, that's interesting. You can't identify it by tests. You can't identify it even you do an MRI, and that doesn't tell you what's going on in the unconscious mind. You do more sophisticated studies that neuroscientists are doing now, and that doesn't tell you. It's a matter of learning and by observation. Of course, Freud, which they made us aware of the unconscious mind and wrote volumes, as you know, about what he had learned and what he had gleaned.
And this is so right up where I am now that, of course, observation is so overlooked in a way, because we are beings that are trained to gain knowledge. There's nothing wrong with knowledge, but it's only through thinking and putting things in our heads that we are conditioned to live a certain way. But when you truly observe, and the intelligence of the mind, the consciousness, whatever, will understand. When you just observe, you don't have to read 10 books to know. Of course, there's nothing wrong with reading books and gaining knowledge and all that stuff, but it seems to get in the way sometimes. So through mere observation, you will get so far. And that's interesting. He mentions that.
Talk to people. And so it's really not terribly difficult. You'd be amazed. Every patient I have ever seen who's come to me has certain personality traits. It is so consistent. They are hardworking, conscientious, responsible, people who expect a great deal of themselves, like Donna Hammond. And we call that the perfect tendency. And then the other is they almost invariably have a need to be very good people. Helpful.
That's me too.
Yes, of course. Very helpful.
Double dose.
That's right. Now, the question then becomes, well, why is this a problem? It certainly is not a problem in our daily lives. It's magnificent in our daily lives. In the unconscious, it's a problem because it puts certain elements within us under pressure. And that, of course, gets us to a more sophisticated level. So I think I would have to leave it at that. Otherwise, people listening to this or looking at this won't really understand.
Yeah.
All right, it's good that he said that. So after 10 minutes, we'll stop this here. Now, of course, I would love to go on, but I want to do about an hour, maybe a bit longer. But so we have to keep it a bit short, and don't rush, because this is very important stuff. So I have to leave Sarno here for a moment, and we'll probably switch to Steve Ozanich. Yeah, we are almost at the 30-minute mark, so that's good timing as well. Let's see. I had an interview here with Steve. This is 1 hour, obviously way too long, but luckily for us, they divided it into bits, so I can. Beginning is probably they're going to talk about him, his life. Well, he was a he was in a lot of pain. He had back pain. He had many, many problems in his life for a long, long time. Tinnitus, you name it, all kinds of stuff. And through learning, through Sarno's book and actually visiting him, and he had a hard mind to get through it all. It took him a long time, but he healed himself completely. So that's his short story in a nutshell. But let's just go here where he talks about the mechanical body. Let me see. All right. Here we go. Steve Ozanich and his book, The Great Pain Deception.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing. And so like, what was the thing? Like, what made you accept that you could heal, or there might be another way? So for me, I was like really obsessed with the mechanical. We chatted about this the other day. And just the mechanical, I was like a mini scientist. I could tell you everything about my digestion and my digestive enzymes. I could probably name you every enzyme in the body, just this hyper fixation on, and then I get clients who come to me and are like, know everything about their spine. And like you said, it is, it's almost hard to get pulled away from that world and into something more simpler that does work. So what for you like gave you that opportunity, that opening?
Your suffering. It's the greatest teacher at times. It doesn't have to be. But even like Eckhart Tolle, it was suffering that had him awaken that one night in 1977. Suffering, I rejected this work of this brilliant Dr. John Sarno, but so I got worse. Because I was looking like you and almost everybody in the world for a mechanical answer. It's a mechanical body. It is not. It's a field of consciousness is what it really is. Being held together.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, right off the bat, there you have such an interesting thing right there. The body, the medical world sees it as a mechanical thing. They don't look at it as holistic or even conscious. And obviously, it has to be conscious in a way. If you cut yourself, it heals right up. You're not, in yourself physically thinking, I have to heal this, I have to fix this. It's getting fixed, So obviously there is an intelligence operating there. There is a consciousness operating there. So I'm sure that in past times they have caught on to these kind of things more. I think it's more recently, since the 20th century, that they have completely corrupted it and turned it into a mechanical thing more and more. And especially if you look where the agenda is today with transhumanism and trying to get our minds and copies of our minds into machines and all kinds of crazy stuff. But this is the other side of it, that we're dealing with a conscious body, a conscious mind, something that's more holistic, and to know that how that operates will help, I believe.
We're trapped in that mind. Well, so we have to clear these possibilities from our mind. But I got worse. I can't remember exactly when I found this work, but I think I rejected it immediately. But you think that they're telling you that you're making it all up in your head, which is not true. They're making that up with their saying. And no one's saying that. It's just that it begins in the mind. It begins in the mind, but it's not, made up. People are suffering. The people that come to work with me, I know they're suffering because I know what it's like. I saw that in your face when I met you too. But I got so bad that I decided to go back. I couldn't walk anymore. I was crawling around on the floor, and I stopped eating. I was down about over 50 pounds, and I've always been a thin person, so that's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. And so I thought, what? Maybe I'll go take a look at this crazy doctor. And then it's true. Because you have to be open. You have to be open. You have to get open. You have to be open for God. Open these heart chakras back up again. So I was suffering, forced to. You know, if I would have been stubborn enough.
And that's a good point. He also mentions in the book that it's not just because it's not really real pain. Is pain brought up upon through yourself? If you understand it deeply, doesn't mean it's not real. It's real pain. It's real suffering. It's real agony. So that's something important, because people might think, oh, we're just saying it's not real, I'm just making it up. You see, that's the problem that people deal with, because they want an answer. They want a doctor to tell them, take this pill or do this and it will be better. But it is more complex than that, and actually also more simple than that. Like what they mentioned before, that someone reads the book and it's over. So it really is all within you. That's so interesting.
My ego would have been stubborn enough, I would have died.
Exactly.
I needed more Johnny.
There you go. That we all know that holding on to things is not a good thing. It's like adding extra weight to your back. You're putting more stuff. So that's why letting go and breathing and being in a moment and all that stuff that sounds so hippie like or whatever is really the real deep truth to it.
I had to die to realize what's going on. It just holds on to these old notions of what life is really about, and it's not about those things. The things that we're focused on. And so you were one of the pleasurable people to work with, because you listened. I remember the thing back in my mind. I can't remember what year it was, but you were absorbing it. I remember that. You didn't say much. You just kept absorbing it. Here you are today, smiling. You weren't smiling when I first met you. I felt bad. I feel bad for everybody, of course, but you can smile now, and the people that come to you for help, they're going to be blessed people.
Mm. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, like for me, I actually didn't reject it when I first, my first introduction to TMS, tension myoneural syndrome, mind-body syndrome, the mind-body connection, was through the Curable app. And I heard this pain science lesson that just said, all pain is created in the brain, and if you break your arm, the messages go to your brain. And then it also mentioned phantom leg syndrome, where people experienced pain in a leg that wasn't there. And I literally, from that moment, I dropped everything. I dropped everything else I was doing. And you're like spinning all these plates when you're trying to heal all these different things. You think everything is separate. The skin is separate to the gut, is separate to the psychiatry, everything. And then I literally dropped all the plates and just focused on this one thing. And I do anything. Like, the suffering was so intense, I would do anything. So I was like looking up everyone. That's how I found you. I was like, get him on the phone. I need to talk to him ASAP. So what, so you have this opening, and I know it so well when you're just deep, deep, deep in the suffering, and you do anything, and the opening to something else, another possibility. And so do you want to explain maybe like what that is? Like, what is TMS?
Sure.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe that is a good segue to our guest there, because he also have some alternative way, as we discussed earlier. So maybe that's a moment now to bring that up.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, I think what the whole thing is, what they're getting to is the energy side of things, where if we're looking at our body as a vessel, okay, like a piece of meat, but it's the angelic, it's almost what some would even call the astral body that is really us in that energetics. We're just using this as a vessel, okay? But our real core is what is held up in those chakra points throughout our body. And that's our energetic being that is literally what is holding back on these things of traumas. And it seems to me that just about all of it bases down to some sort of trauma. Are you getting that feeling with these sort of presentations?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, we know from like MK Ultra that they on purpose put trauma, especially in younger people. But we all have our trauma, one way or another, and yeah, I definitely feel there's that connection, and you cannot always stop it. Even if you live in a somewhat perfect world, you cannot always happen that you have a bit of a trauma. Even if you have a heavy accident and you break bones, or actually, or if something happens in the body, they call it a trauma. So uh,
Well,
there's
yeah. Well,
yeah.
that's another thing that I believe. Like with, say, for instance, I can speak of myself. I opened the door on my son by mistake, and he ran at it after telling him to calm down. And I opened the door really fast, knocked him right above the eye, cracked it above his eye. I could have taken his eye out. I could have killed him, really. It flew him across the floor. And virtually from that time, I lost sight in one of my eyes. And I do believe it was the trauma of that thing that still to this day has blocked that blockage in my eye. It's something I did not want to see. And what I had done to my own son, the guilt, all that is my next level after working on other issues, is to do that and work on that, because I fully believe my eye problem is because of that one trauma that I suffered from what I'd done to someone. And that goes into, see, I look at it, I grab, like with the lower back pain, for instance, I grab it, I wrap it up in linen, wrap it up. This is all visually, of course, but it's on a spiritual level. Obviously, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did we lose you, or were you done talking? Because I don't hear you now. But all right, we'll see what's going on. Anyway, yeah, that's good. There's many ways to deal with this, and to find a way, and to know that you do have actually the capability to do something about it, and that you don't necessarily need to pay thousands and thousands of dollars or euros or whatever it is to get better. So, yeah, okay, I thought so. There was a little problem there with the connection. So we'll see. We might get him back in a moment. We'll just play a little bit more of old Steve there, and then we'll try and pick up where we left off. Okay. Here we go. Back to old Steve, and listen to what he says. What is TMS?
Yes, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who read all about it watching this as well. But for somebody who doesn't know about it, it was the brainchild, of course, of Dr. John Sarno. He was at the Rusk Institute at the New York University Medical Center. He's passed on now in 2017. He left us. But his life's work changed the world. It changed the medical industry forever, but it also changed the consciousness of our planet. I work with people in pretty much every country in the world, and they hold his books up in their languages, and smiles on their faces. Millions and millions of books were sold. He changed the consciousness of our planet by proving clinically, which is important. Theory's theory, but he proved clinically at one of the largest cities in the world and one of the top hospitals in the world that his patients didn't have physical body problems with fibromyalgia, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, skin problems. The list is almost infinite. But they had a personality problem.
Now, this is great because, like I mentioned before, or maybe you can throw in a little bit of Wim Hof, but he talks about this and he's also proving it. He's going out there, he's going to science to say, look, I'm showing you how this works, and you can look how it works and find out. So, like people like Sarno and Wim Hof and others who are doing such great work to benefit mankind and show people that things might be slightly different than what we've been told. And you do hold the key in your own hands. Like my first episode with Mickey, we also talked a little bit about this, that the key is in your own hands. So this is a great episode that fits on top of that one a little bit.
And of course, that's developed in childhood with the relationship with the parents, and how you see the world, how you perceive the world. And so they're locked in this, a lot of it that's the fault of the medical industry by telling you your body's failing. Your body's failing. Look at this arthritis here. Look at this. This is shorter than that. This is longer than that. This is tighter than that. It has nothing to do with that, of course. And we know that because they heal virtually every single time. You can get away from the mechanical type thinking. So he proves, through astronomical success, that, all of his patients are healing. Virtually was the word he used, virtually every one of them. Virtually means almost everyone. There's always somebody who won't accept it. Who won't accept it, and so the people who did accept it, virtually every one of those get healed. And what's going on is that when the person becomes overwhelmed with emotions and demands made on themselves, that the unconscious anger inside that person is rising until they can't take it anymore. But they don't know it's rising because that's what the word unconscious means. You don't know it. You're not aware of it, okay? Then suddenly they're blindsided with a symptom. Bam! Now they got cancer. Now they got MS. Like in my case, I lost my vision here. I was blind from halfway up. It was just a black bar across there, which is called scotoma. And now I know what it is. And of course, I thought I was losing my eyesight. My health problems got worse. I helped a lady recently get her hearing back too, So pretty much everything is coming from mind. There are a couple things we're not sure about. If you listen to Bruce Lipton and people like that, who are the leaders in this new movement in the world as far as the evolution of our planet, right? He's saying there's no such thing as a disease at all. And I tend to agree with him, but there's a couple of things we don't know about, like Huntington's and Tay-Sachs. It's mutating from generation to generation. I still believe it has something to do with consciousness. We just don't understand it. The rest of it's pretty much from mind, And of course, we're not talking about injuries.
Yeah, and certain. I was listening to this Dutch homeopath, and there's certain viruses that have been with us for a long time. We're not talking about corona and that kind of nonsense. We're talking about real viruses like leprosy. This kind of thing goes way back. This kind of virus has been with mankind for a long time, and these are within the human body, within human genetics. So was it planted there? That could be. You could say maybe was it something that someone once got infected and it came to human beings, or maybe the Anunnaki have put that there. I don't know who, or was it exactly self-created through stress and other things, and whatever. So yeah, so it's not always that simple. Like, okay, here's the answer. That's it. It's always a little bit more complex than you think. But anyway, we'll play a little bit more, and then we will. Let me see. Around the hour, probably wrap it up. Or I want to do probably a little bit of Wim Hof. We got our guest back, by the way, so let's get him back on the stage. See if we can pick up a little bit where we left off. It's always difficult once you get off, but you still remember what you wanted to say, then you can.
My internet dropped out. Yeah, I was just going to say about the blockages, like they're saying, with his eyesight and that. I don't know where I left off, but yeah, through trauma and guilt and things that can obviously cause those things. You don't want to see it, so it's going to affect your eyes, obviously, as the metaphor, They say with cancers in stomachs, a lot of women that have abortions are prominent to have stomach cancers or ovarian sort of cancers because of the guilt that they hold later in life, or through life since the act of aborting a child. And so there's a manifestation of something in that guilt realm that has manifested itself in the flesh. So that's another avenue as well. How women can create stomach problems through that guilt of terminating their child.
Yeah, it makes me also a little bit thinking of Christianity that puts a lot of guilt on people, and that guilt really sort of physically attacks you after a while. It's really unhealthy for you. Guilt in general is not just what it's brought upon by religion or by your own, experiences in life or bad relationships. It's not really truly understood, like you say. I mean, it's not really that after you went into surgery or whatever happened to you, they will say, well, be careful not to feel guilty, and we can have ways for you to, to realize not to do that or something. That's not there. That sort of now, of course, in alternative circles you can find it, but yeah, this is so good to understand this holistic approach. It's something that is solvable probably, and it is in one way rather simple, and on the other hand, of course, it's complex because it's it's the mind, and but the mind, what the brain is really all doing, I don't think we really have a real answer to that still. But it's incredible, and that's also the beauty that of the mind, that the awareness, the consciousness, the intelligence of the mind, which is misused, I think, probably on purpose, but to realize that actually you can change it, and whether you're 15 or 80, I still believe there's always a possibility to turn things around, and one's own mind is really at the center of this. So it's incredible. It's really incredible. So what we do, we are 51 minutes in. I'll play a little bit more of him. I think we're going to go a little bit over time, at least the time that I had in my mind. But I want to take a little bit my time for this first one. So we'll get back to this topic. So what we do is we're going to go a little bit back to Steve. And then I do want to play a little bit of Wim Hof, not too long, because he also has, it sort of correlates. That's why. So let's go back to what Steve is saying, and I will keep these two interviews, and we'll do another episode. I don't know when, but we will get back to this because this is a very interesting topic, and I just want to take it easy and dissect it, and so we can look at it.
You fall off the roof of your house, your body's gonna have to heal, but it will heal rapidly. If the body is not healing, if you have a chronic condition, you've got CMS. Okay, you don't know it because your doctor doesn't know about it, but what he proved was that your brain is diverting your attention and awareness to the body and away from all these unwanted emotions that are surfacing. They're beginning to surface. You can't contain them. You can't hold them down anymore. You've repressed them so long, and they're about to burst into consciousness. So in order to keep the lie going every day, which is what we call a superego, you can put a persona, the brain will increase shoulder pain or something like that. And so you're constantly putting your attention on it. That's what your brain wants. It's distracting you to the physical away from the emotion. Now, the problem begins because you go to the doctor. Oh, you got a tear in your rotator cuff. Well, everybody does. Okay, everybody does. And then let's operate on it. Let's stab it. Let's medicate it. And then it becomes to get worse because now they've legitimized it somehow in their mind. But
yeah, if you think about it, the chakra field, the energy field within you, and things are not flowing there, the last thing you would do is cut a knife into it and start messing around, the only thing that needed to happen was to get that flow, that energy that's in there, back in order, and it would heal itself. It makes all the sense in the world. So in that case, I think there should never be a reason to cut somebody open if you go far enough. That's my belief, I think.
I had a person a few years ago. The doctor told him he had a 90% tear in his rotator cuff. But in the meantime, he found the great pain deception. He said, I started thinking, is this possibly CMS? So he said, he contacted me, and I told him, go have another opinion. Well, he went to another doctor, and the MRI showed 10%. So they're reading these things all over the place, the chemical levels and all that stuff, and they're just rising and falling because of stress and tension. And so I haven't seen a physical body problem in my 22 years I've been doing this work. Although it might be sometime, I don't know. I've only seen what I've seen, of course. But the TMS doctors that I work with tell me they don't see it as a physical body problem either. So it's a strategy by your brain, TMS, to divert your awareness and attention to the physical away from the emotional body.
All right, so that's where I cut it off for now. That's really well said. So we have an understanding a little bit what they're talking about here. And we will get back to it in another episode, because this is a very interesting information that you have to slowly digest, I think, and get to terms with. So what we do, we can talk a little bit more, and then I want to play a little bit of Wim Hof, because he has some great stuff with what he's done, his work. It's just very fascinating with the breathing and the cold training and the huge effects you have with that. So yeah, 55 minutes in, perfect. Now let's ask our guest, because you are, trying a lot of things yourself through sort of meditation and trying to solve it that way, and getting into it and dealing with all these energies that come up, and that's very fascinating too.
Yeah, I think the underlying thing to the matter is energies, and like grabbing that knot out pretty much. I look at it like a plasmatic gel, ripping it out of that area, binding it up and casting it away, any negatives from there, forgive whatever is held up in that area, working on those sort of visualizations, and then surrounding it in energies of vibrant, electrical fields and like aura, and surrounding your body, working your way also in other parts of the body with lower deep breathing as well, obviously, lower abdomen. I mean, when I've worked up my chi, I usually feel something at the bottom of my spine. So I visualize it coming up. And I don't believe it would come up without just even the visualization, including lower abdomen breathing, and then visualizing and working up, then going up, and then up until I get a bit higher in the lungs, cultivating that energy flow up into the back of your spine. And so a lot of that is visual as well. And I think that's the key point. I mean, cutting things, like you said, I mean, what do they do if you've got pain, lower back and that sciatica real bad? They cut a nerve, and that's just, it's butchery, really, when that nerve has obviously got a blockage of sorts. So work on the area there. And I mean, this isn't even touching it. This is all visual, and taking yourself and forgiving yourself, and that, a lot of that's a big player, man. Like how much guilt and resentment and all this, it's not healthy at all. And this is it. But trying to be at peace with your body and yourself, and realizing that this is just a vehicle. You're working on a higher part of that vehicle, which is the energy and chi flow of that vehicle, not the meat flow of that vehicle,
No.
So I think that's a big player anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes, the understanding of this, that the saying from the blood flow to, your thoughts and the stress on the body, the physical and mental stress, and all these things, that it's such a sensitive vehicle in a way. If you don't have a grasp of the awareness, we don't have a control of that, then it can go wrong, really wrong. And it goes wrong, as we see. It goes completely wrong.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to get it. And maybe in the ancient past they had knowledge about this, I don't know, but at least it's coming back, and all this great info is now coming forth, and how important is the breathing, and also the things we do in life, and the mindset of things, and being able to let go of things and live in the moment, and that's where it happens anyway. So it all comes together in a way. It's very fascinating. And
makes sense why they have good things with acupuncture as well, because they're not, don't have to massage the that part of the body. You don't have to go through all this therapy with pushing and all that. Just one right spot where the energy is blocked, and a little flick of the pen and done, man. Same sort of thing. It's all working on that energy field, really. So
yeah,
depends
absolutely.
on what
Absolutely.
method works, I guess, for you, and what you believe too, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. The whole actually, the belief gets in the way. I think the belief, if you come across, that's what you see. If you come across this, people are so trained to believe that the medical system may have a solution or may not, but generally they hope they do. And if they come across this sort of alternative information, they don't believe it, so it's not going to work. But it's not even about believing; it's just actually about seeing and actually realizing, like a light bulb going on. Like, so that was the problem, and that's it. In many cases, that's all it takes. Now, that's a very simple way of putting it, but when you go down to it, that is actually the start of the heat. At least that's the starting process. Like, and then realizing, but you have to go into it. You have to observe it, look at your own life, your own thoughts, the whole structure of it, and then you will get some results. And with techniques like that you mentioned, certain meditation techniques and visualization and all these things are very helpful. So anything we can use as a human being to heal ourselves or get better and understand things better, I think is always wonderful. So we reached the top of the hour. We're over it, and that's not a problem. We're gonna just play a little Wim Hof. I want to put that on here as well, and then after that we will wrap it up. So let's see. Put good old Wim back on. There we go. So let's see. A little bit back, he was talking here about some interesting stuff. Okay, let's go back to Wim and the many great things he discovered.
To simplify, a monkey has difficulties learning how to swim, and a fish has difficulties learning how to climb. Our minds and every person is different. Some fit into the system and some don't. They get conflict with their identity. And so much when the stress comes in and they still have to perform and give results and cognitively keep on, and they feel not good compared to others and all, that might jeopardize the identity. And that goes in many cases to where they lose it. Then they shoot their father, their mother, their siblings, and then the people, because they are completely lost. We should bring.
We're all lost because of the division in the mind.
Regulation of emotions done by breathing.
And there you go. You see, this fits in. So we just sort of established in the beginning that a lot of these problems are brought on because of the emotions, the traumas, the other things. And now here, Wim is claiming to have a way to deal with that.
As you say, he was totally right, this man. That was probably the best lesson you got. The inquisitive nature always brings about answers.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was saying the same thing as you're saying. He said that your breath is the only thing that stays with you from the moment you're born to the moment you die. He said, you'll change your country, you'll change your family, you'll change your friends, like things change, but your breath is always with you. And he said, what changes when you're happy? Your breath. What changes when you're sad? Your breath. What changes when you're angry? Your breath. And so he said to me, if you learn to manage your breath, you'll be able to manage any emotion in life. Exactly like what you're saying.
Yes. I'm here to show scientifically that autonomy is ours. that we have a control far deeper than in science was thought possible. But now it's here. We not only here to drink a glass of water, we are here to drink the full cup of life. If you don't go to the cold will come to you. And then you don't like it. So too much disease, too much anxiety, too much depression, too much darkness, all is happening. Too much stress, it's all happening. We know this, and we found a way to deal with it. We found the key.
So you have the
So that's important, because to say, well, you just got to have no stress, or, living in this world is impossible. There is going to be stress. There is going to be, things you have to be careful of. There's diseases around, I suppose, so, but that doesn't mean that it should affect you to the level that it has. So this is all part of it, I guess, to the whole TMS thing, the whole Wim Hof method, and others, visualization techniques, breathing techniques, exercising in general, and going to the gym or doing yoga, swimming, walking. This vehicle, it's not really made to sit still too long, or to relax too long. There is a certain energy has to flow. Water has to flow as well. So, and we are also, for a big part, water, conscious water, one could almost say. So, very interesting. But we'll leave it at that for now. Let's see. Very interesting stuff. Okay, so maybe any final words we can add to this one before we wrap this one up here?
No. I just add that even without the physicalities of things, just look at stress alone, like paying the bills, all these things without any physical effort, which includes different ways of breathing, like you said, your cortisone and your adrenaline levels always constantly through the roof. It's not good, man. So if that can do that to your health, and a lot of people will tell you, stress is one of the biggest killers. Well, why wouldn't the opposite work at the same token then? So that just makes sense right there. A lot of people will acknowledge, stress, stress is a killer. Well, what about the opposite of healing? So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, you can't stop stress. I mean, wherever we live and wherever we create life or societies and we're around other people, there is stress. I mean, it can be, managed, but you're not completely going to escape it. So that's why it's good to be aware of it, be aware of your body, being aware of how it all works, be aware of how to, bring those levels down through breathing, or through having a great conversation, or, to physically help other people, perhaps, so in the end it comes down to that, to being aware of it, really. And I think that's the start of it all. So yeah.
I'll add one more just for other people that I find that's helping me a lot, is that realizing that we're just here as a journey. This isn't us. We're using this beautiful body that's God's parents have given us, and this is just a vessel. We're on the outside. People hear of all these people that have outside body experiences, and that's us. That's our spiritual. That's our essence. This is just our car. This is our vehicle. And once we realise that that's all it is, it makes it a lot more easier too to get a grip of this thing. Hey, it's just a big game. We're just going along for a journey with this meat car that we've got, and so let's just enjoy the ride as much as possible, and maybe not take things as serious as they have to. I mean, because this isn't us. Once you step out of that little box that this is it, this is us, this is our whole life, and go, wow, we're actually an energetic, spiritual being here, just using this suit to experience this life. And then we'll go do the same somewhere else after this. And that really puts things, narrows it down to a lot more less dramatic in life when you just look at it that way, I think. And that's another mind thing. It's something you can keep that in your mind, I think. But anyway, I'll leave it on that, mate. And good show. I'll look forward to the next one.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining and giving your 10 cents words, or whatever you want to call it. But it's always good to have a bit of a convo and hear from people. And yeah, very, very good point, I guess. Again, it comes down to awareness, to, being aware of what one really is, of where we really find ourselves. And you see, the more you hold on to things, the more you, worry about things, the more you put the stress on, it all gets very difficult and complex. But anyway, we'll do another part on this because there's much more to say and much more to play. I'll just put the books up one more time here. Here we go. Healing Back Pain by Dr. Sarno. Great book, The Mind-Body Connection. Something, if you're interested, you can still get it today and start reading it for yourself. Maybe the reading itself might already help you. That happened. And The Great Pain Deception by Mr. Stephen Ozanich. Great book to get into. I'll put 2 links. I have one link in Dutch where we can find in the Netherlands this kind of information and therapeutic help on this level, and an English one. So that's it. We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you everybody for checking this out. I hope it helps you out, because it's very important information. And we'll catch you another time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Have a good one. And we'll see you on another episode of The World Gone Mad. Adios.
Quote, fake news. Fake news. You are fake news. It's all fake news. Fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. It's all fake news. Quote, fake news.